Thank God, man. I needed you.
Hey, what's up, man? What's going on?
I'm over here sparring because I got a guy telling me Kobe's top three.
It's actually funny. I was listening to. I guess there was a podcast with. I don't know. Do you know who OG the Beast is?
Oh yeah, for sure.
So it was with OG the Beast, Chilltown, and two guys that I don't know. And it's funny because Chilltown gave his top 10, and he didn't even have Kobe in his top 10, and I was shocked. But then again, I realize it's because he has Wilt and Bill both in his top 10, and I don't know that I have those guys, so I could see that. But I was still surprised. I don't know. It's weird to not have Kobe top 10. I think, but it's not crazy if you actually see the people. It's all based on how you value players, right? Because most
Yeah.
people will have Bill on there, whereas I don't think I have Bill on my top 10.
And that was one of our first ones that me and you connected on was just the straight up top 10. So
Yeah,
I think I had Bill number 10, but I actually I've almost put guys in little windows. And if you've got Kobe is like Kobe's top 12 cemented. So if
for
he's
sure.
outside of the top 11, 12, I'm fine with that. That doesn't kill me. I've got him number 8 myself, but it's how it goes.
Yeah, I think
But I
I have.
cannot go down with Kobe.
Yeah, I think I have him 8 too. I think I have, if I remember correctly, I think I have. Yeah, now I think about it, MJ, Kareem, Magic, Bird. Damn, I don't remember who I have fifth. Do I have
Dude,
Duncan fifth?
LeBron. You gonna say LeBron?
I didn't say LeBron.
No, man, you just skipped right over
Oh,
LeBron.
okay, that makes sense. So then it's really LeBron, Kareem. I'm sorry, Le- MJ, LeBron, Kareem, then Magic and Bird. Okay, I remember that my list now. Then Tim Duncan at six, and then Shaq seven, then Kobe eight. Yeah,
Yep, yep, something like that. I think you also had Hakeem in there. I think I had Hakeem 11.
yeah. I think I had
So
Hakeem after Kobe, and then I don't know. So that would make Hakeem nine, and then 10. Shoot, I couldn't tell you who I had at 10. I want to say Wilt.
I could see that.
Yeah, you didn't have Wilt in your
Yep.
top 10, did you?
No, I currently got him between 12 and 13. I switch him and Steph Curry right now.
He's hard,
So
man. He Wilt's a hard one. He's one of the hardest people to rank, man. He was
yeah.
such an anomaly of sorts. I don't know. He was such. Yeah, he's. I think it's either people overrate him or they underrate him. It's just he's a hard guy to rank. I think. Yeah.
I agree. I agree. He's probably got one of the bigger ranges of like when you talk about how low and high guys can go. Wilt could go to top five, and he can be out of top 10. And there's not too
Yeah.
many guys you can do that with.
Yeah. That's true. He's definitely an athletic freak. I just made a video before I came on live. Um, the how to create an athletic NBA player, and the people I selected were Russell Westbrook, LeBron James, Giannis, and Wilt. And I could have had. I thought about obviously Vince Carter, Dominique and Sean Kemp. There's a couple of people I put on there, but those were the people that came to mind. So where did someone ask me where do you rank KD all time right now? Not top 10. Here's the thing. I tell people all the time when it comes to my top 10 list or all time list, I value resume over talent. I really do. And some people don't. Some people value and people that have Kobe top five, believe it or not, a decent amount of people actually have Kobe top three. A lot of those people they base it that lets me know you're basing it on skill more than you're basing it on talent. And the reason I'll always give I'm sorry, I meant to say they're basing on skill slash talent over accolades. The reason I will always have accolades and resume over skill, and because if we're looking at pure talent, I can argue that McGrady was just as skilled as Kobe, man. I mean, you look at someone like Grant Hill from a skill and talent standpoint. Oh, this dude was like it was crazy, but I to me, you have to work harder for accolades than you do your talent because so much of talent skills God given. So that's my justification. That's why I always ask people, well, how do you base it? How about you? I've never asked you that. How do you base typically?
I agree a little bit with what you're saying. I mean, the resume speaks for itself, and it's all in. I really think I think about everything. I think about skill. I think about accolades. I think about what you accomplished. I think about winning in the regular season, winning in the postseason. Like, there's just so much that goes into it. But you and I think, have had enough discussions that, like, one of my biggest things is it's winning. It's winning, and for me, basketball, like the superstar player affects the outcome of the game more than any other sport.
More than
In
any other team
football,
sport. Yeah, correct.
in football you
It,
play only one side of the ball.
it's not even
In
close.
baseball,
Yeah.
it's not even close. And because you can be a great defender and be the guy that locks up their best offensive player, like that can be your role. And on offense, whether you have the ball or not, which you do most of the time, the defense is aware of you regardless.
Yeah,
So
they
you
are.
just so
And
for me in
even to
basketball,
the NFL, there are situations where a team doesn't have a really good quarterback, but their defense is so dominant. It powers them. Rex Grossman, Trent Dilfer. I can name a couple scenarios where they didn't have. And the reason I use quarterback, obviously, that's the most important variable in football. But yeah, you're right. And 5 on 5, yeah, definitely. The impact of an individual player is seen more in basketball for sure. Yeah.
well, and I'm not saying winning is the end all either, because I've got Bill Russell number 10. If I thought winning was the best thing ever, he'd be
Yeah,
number
yeah.
one.
But but
You know?
but we played to win the game. I don't know who said that famous line. I want to say it was NFL coach. I'm having a brain for it, but you played to no, it was the former coach for the Jets, black guy, Herman
Oh, Herm Edwards.
Herm Edwards. There you go. That's who said it. You played to win the
Yeah,
game.
you played the game. You
Yep.
played a game to win.
You played a game to win. That's it. Man.
Yep. No, that's what. Yeah, and I will always value impact and winning over stats and numbers. Okay, Wilt Chamberlain scored 100 points in the game. Bill Russell held up the championship trophy at the end of the season. I'm gonna hang out with Bill Russell.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah. Because at the end of the day, are those stats conducive to winning? And that's why, to me, I think personally, not to go on a different tangent, but I don't think Russell Westbrook really deserved that MVP in 2017. If I'm looking at all the MVP winners from 2017, okay, people they were enamored with the novelty of someone averaging a triple double. I get all that, but he went to do it what 2, 3 more seasons, and people was like, oh, whatever, I don't really care. It just goes to show that literally because Russell Westbrook could not win, although he averaged such an impressive feat, the triple double. It's like, well, if it doesn't really truly contribute to winning and winning the playoffs and stuff, it's like, well, how much is it worth? And I think now the narrative around triple doubles is like, I mean, it's impressive, but it's like, So,
yeah. I wish the conversation with MVPs, especially when we're talking about rankings, that it was a little more open to were you an MVP candidate? Because the MVP, there's only one of those that's given. But there's a lot of controversy that comes in those MVPs. Now there's very few select seasons like LeBron 2012. It was him. Steph Curry 2015. That was him. There's a few times when there was clearly a guy who stepped above the rest. But more times than not, there's 3, 4, 5 guys that had themselves an MVP season. And I think about guys who didn't win an MVP, like Jason Kidd. Jason Kidd lost to Tim Duncan in a very close race. Alonzo Mourning had an MVP type season. Tim Duncan won the award. Michael Jordan lost to Karl Malone. Like
that was such.
they both they got lots of votes, and it's like, so to me, I'm like, yeah, Karl Malone got the MVP, but you can't discount Jordan that season.
I,
Jordan was at the top of his game that year, so it's hard to have these MVPs part of the discussion when
yeah,
there's sometimes, were you a legit MVP candidate? I wish that was like a
yeah,
stat that was
because
good.
voter fatigue is a thing. We saw that with LeBron, and we saw that with Jordan. So, but I don't know. I personally, to me, it doesn't always go to the best player. One of the biggest, you know, controversial takes that I have is the year that Derrick Rose won it, LeBron should have got it. People don't like that. You know what I'm saying? Same thing for Kobe in the leagues. People don't like that, but it's like I get it though. It was like with Derrick Rose Cinderella story, leading young Derrick Rose leading the Bulls. I get it. There wasn't like it's not something I'm. It's not a hill I'm gonna die on, but it is. So yeah,
But that's the thing. It's like Derrick Rose, he deserved it. And if LeBron would have won it, he deserved it.
yeah, yeah,
There was
yeah.
a couple guys here that deserved it. Uh, so it's just an interesting. Yeah, MVP is an interesting one because that's the same thing. It's not an end all be all. Just because you won MVP, just because Russell Westbrook does have, is Russell Westbrook better than Chris Paul? I say not in his best days.
Yeah, that's
Not
true.
even when he.
That the system in the NBA is definitely not perfect, but for all the complaining that I personally do about it, I tell you what, it's better than the NFL the way they select the MVP, in my opinion. Because in the NFL, it seems like what they do is, oh, okay, well, let me take the top three quarterbacks. Oh, this was the best one out of the top three. We'll give it to him. It's just so hard to win it and not outside of the quarterback position. So, but
Yeah,
let's get into this, man. Do you have your list prepared, by the way? Because last I spoke to you, you had it, but you just didn't have it ordered.
I got my order down. I do. Hey, wait, before what in the heck? I watched I watched too much of it. 4 or 5 minutes of you and this lady barking at each other. What in the holy hell
Bro,
was that?
where so are people posting that? I guess people just screen recorded it. So let's talk about it. So I'm on
And I
TikTok.
had to turn it off, by the way. I was waiting for it to turn to something else, and I had to turn it off.
Yeah, man. So I'm on TikTok on live talking about sports, and people are always like asking me to come on. This lady asked me to come on, right? As soon as she gets, I accept the thing. She's like, start doing some weird stuff. Like literally, I'm like, "Are you sober right now?" She's like, "Maybe, maybe not." I'm like, "Okay, this is interesting. I'm bored." So today was actually one of the days that I actually did not have much work to do, and she starts like, she's like, "Oh, let's have a doggy bark contest." And I'm one of these people, man. I'm willing to try everything at least once. It was completely random and without any context. It's gonna because I know a bunch of people watching it, man, went and freaking screen recorded it and there because I'm already getting tagged in it or whatever, man. And I look absolutely silly. But here's the funny thing,
Uh,
right? She has over 400,000 followers. So a lot of her followers came on my live and they were actually sending me friend requests. After that live, bro, I had close to 500 new followers because of that live. So I guess the barking and all that crazy stuff paid off or something. I think that's probably the most followers I've ever had in one live, honestly. So I'll
well,
take it.
I saw like 200 people in your stream, and I think for me seeing you, that was well above your normal.
Oh, for
So
sure,
I
man.
was I
Oh yeah.
honestly thought I was like, did I click on a different account and like you do? I'm like, is there sports OJ and then this barking OJ that
Yeah,
has a
that
bigger
was.
account?
You know what's funny, man? Some people commented, they're like, "Man, I don't think I'll ever see you the same way again." It's like, who is this guy? And it was just so weird for people to kind of like see me in that light. You know what I mean? So, but I always tell people, "Hey, man, I personally don't take myself too seriously. So if other people don't, then get." And I always tell people, "Oh, you don't take me seriously? Well, hey, join the club. Neither do I." So, yeah, man, it was. I had a good time. It was very random and weird person, but they had a blast in the chat. They were laughing up with some. But yeah, there was actually a little bit over 1,800 people that joined the live. So yeah, that's quite a bit.
Yeah,
That's
well,
definitely above normal for me.
gotta accept those calls, and I swear, man, I accept these calls sometimes, and it's just nothing on the other end. It's
Yeah,
like why?
7 out of 10 times it's nothing on the other end, man. There are times where people will do it and it's a guy playing Fortnite, or I'm like, okay, next. Like,
Well, can maybe I need to push some more buttons. Can you hang up on those people?
yeah, you absolutely can. So whenever you like, there's been some times, man, where in the middle of their talking, I'll just hang up, and it's not because, and I don't do it often. It's not to be rude, but if like There are times where people are speaking another language. I'm trying to talk and I don't understand. I'm like, all right, well, I'm out, like type of thing. Or people that are just trolling. But every now and then you'll get like I'll get a good conversation, a wholesome conversation that has nothing to do with sports, and I end up giving people relationship advice and random stuff. Yeah.
Yep, yep. Right, I had to ask. I was
So if
scratching my
you're
head.
so let me ask you this. Did you see it on my live or are you seeing it in other people's pages?
I saw it in your live, and
Oh, okay.
honestly, you guys were talking about something about school behavior for a minute, and then
Oh
you got
yeah.
into barking.
So she wanted to do an improv. She's a principal or something, and I'm in her office. I got in trouble because I started a food fight. And it sounds so silly just saying it, man. But literally we went on for like half an hour about the whole thing. And then she said that, well, my father, she's dating my father. I'm like, no, that can't be true because my dad's gay. And it was just, dude, we went in the weeds, man.
Yeah, yep. That's about the part I caught.
Yeah.
So, all right, let's do it to it. All right, for those listening, we're talking top 10 IQ guys. I think this list is going to be off the wall
It
because
is
we're
gonna
talking
be off
about
the
play.
wall. I've never done anything like this, by the way, ever. I've done assist top 10, like all the top tens, but IQ. So I I know for a fact there is about three guys I know he'll have in there. But besides that, looking at my list, I'm gonna have a couple guys he's gonna be like, what? So
Yeah, well, I'm looking forward to it. So we're talking playmaking, we're talking leadership, we're talking court vision, we're talking ability to coach. I mean, it's IQ. How well do these guys know the game? And guys that do more with less. So
and
yeah,
all
this
those
is
stuff.
this is an all-time list.
And for me, one thing I'll add too, Jeff, the another thing I'll add that was big for me when looking at these players is how is their feel for the game. Not even so much how smart they play, but they're sort of like that natural feel for the game. You know what I mean? So yeah.
I like it. I like it. So number one, so we talked about three guys. This is what kicked it off. But number one is a guy that we didn't talk about. So my number one is Kobe Bryant. I think he has the absolute most knowledge, highest IQ of the game. Here's the
Oh,
thing, OJ.
we're gonna spend half an hour on this. Go ahead. On just Kobe. I did not expect this, man. But go ahead.
Have you seen detail?
I have. It's
You have?
brilliant.
It is off the charts. His ability to break. I think he knows everything about the game of basketball, and his ability to teach it and coach it. What he's done, mentoring players throughout the league, Kyrie, Tatum, his daughters, the youth, and his breakdown of detail. I had to pull the trigger and put Kobe at number one.
I can never. By the way, for the record, Kobe's not even in my top 10, so I'll let you guys know right now. I don't even know if I'd have him top 15. So two things with Kobe, right? Number one, I can never give him the lion's share of credit for IQ when half of his game, I don't want to say stole, but he modeled after Jordan. Now you can make an argument he was more skilled and things of that nature, but a lot of the stuff, particularly the footwork of Jordan, particularly the footwork, and Kobe. I mean, I don't blame him for that. I mean, Jordan's my goat, so shoot, who better to learn and model your game after than the goat? So for me,
Yeah.
just on that alone, I can't give him number one. And the second reason, this is gonna be a little bit nitpicky, but obviously, if we're talking about number one, I'm gonna have to split hairs. Kobe Bryant, for some decent stretches of his career, he was a he was a ball hog, a high volume shooter, a selfish player to where he would try to shoot his way to win games. For some stretches of his career, particularly post Shaq, pre Pau Gasol, right? I don't know how many years that was. So that was a small percentage of his career. And so for me, those type of games, although I know the IQ is there from an intellectual standpoint, it did not necessarily manifest itself in how he actually played. So for me, I'm not just judging their understanding of the game. I'm judging how they're able to apply that understanding on the basketball court. And what my eye sees and what my eye tells me is that a lot of he was, those years very, very high volume shooter, very inefficient shooter, and he was not as good as making players around him naturally as other people. And I think where Kobe made people better than him was in the fact that they respected him so much. I'm gonna double team you, so boom and stuff, and just what he demanded, like just his aura and his energy, the Mamba mentality, and he demanded more. But I don't know that he made people better around him in the way that Steve Nash, LeBron, or Chris Paul did, and like getting guys open.
I can
So
100% get on board with what you're saying there. That the first point I don't agree with as much. Your second point though, and uplifting the guys around him, some shot selection. But I'm definitely, I think I've got to say I'm viewing the maturity of it. I'll say as a 17-year-old who came into the league and had that competitive drive built into him, he learned a lot. And it's different when you're winning championships and he's doing what he's doing with a guy like Shaq. And then Phil Jackson and Shaq gone, he had to grow up. And in my estimation, he did because there's very few guys that I think you can say dominated the league. But if you want to bring in uplifting players around him, I'm with you. If that's a factor, I mean, this is what's going to be fun about the list. But if we had solidified what's a
oh,
factor or
that's
not,
definitely a factor. Yeah, for sure. I mean, and I think about sort of like how he treated his teammates. Probably wasn't the best teammate in the world. And I could give some examples. Smush Barker not talking to him for like six months and stuff like that. And this is gonna be a little bit cheap, but it's almost like if the culture there is not one that's inviting, maybe that's not conducive for certain players to play their best game. Now, some players they could deal with that, but obviously Kwame Brown that didn't work out with Jordan. How he, you know what I'm saying? So it all depends.
yeah.
And I think being a good leader, a lot of that is knowing which buttons to push and which people and things of that nature. So I definitely like now if you're talking about from an intellectual standpoint, yeah, Kobe Bryant for sure, 100%, like one of the smartest. Like I compare Kobe to like Peyton Manning, like in terms of like IQ and understanding of the game. Yeah, I mean, you're not gonna get any debate from me from there.
If you're gonna say IQ, you can't say IQ. That's what we're talking about.
Yeah, yeah. But here's the difference though. The IQ I'm talking about cognitive. That IQ wasn't always translated on the court when you're taking 40 shots a game. I mean, let's not forget Kobe Bryant's very last game. The man had 50 shot attempts, right? And that's a very. It's like so, like it's like. And by the way, when I'm nitpicking Kobe, I gotta put my voice down a little bit. When I'm nitpicking Kobe, it's really from the period of post Shaq to pre Pau Gasol. Because I don't think it's
Yeah.
fair. I don't think come on, man. Young Kobe, I don't think that's fair to sort of put him to that high standard. Although, um, if we could transition to my number one, which is LeBron James, he
Yep.
displayed a level of IQ on the court at a young age that I'd never seen. Maybe, perhaps you could say Magic Johnson at that age. And for him to be that young and to when did he go to the finals? What year? 2000, like year four? It's crazy. And with all due respect, with a bunch of bums. Now you can say, oh, the East was weak, whatever, whatever. So it's just like the level of leadership he showed is just unprecedented, man. It's just, and it's funny. I've seen LeBron James live actually several times, especially when he was down in Miami with the Heat. And when you watch him live, you're able to appreciate his IQ a little bit more. There's something about watching it live too. Like the cameras on TV, it doesn't pan as much. But like live, you kind of see, and I had some really good seats. You see everything, and to see him make some of the play, oh my goodness, man! And obviously, he has LeBron's cheap. Let's be honest, the dude has a photographic memory. I'm sure you've seen the interview when they're like, "Hey, LeBron, what happened in that play?" And he literally told the reporter like 3 plays prior to that. It's just the cerebral capacity is on another level. That's all.
One thing we talked about when setting this list up is like how slow is the game for you, and and
Yeah,
and is it slower for anybody than LeBron? I
no,
mean, it's crazy.
it's crazy.
He'll
Yeah,
do things. He'll be like, there was a fly eye that landed on Dwayne Wade's shoulder in quarter three. I knew he wasn't able. Like he'll be like he's just
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy detail, and even bro, man, I remember LeBron James' first game. I believe it was Sacramento Kings. I don't remember how many. I think he had like 19 points. But even in that first game, like you could tell it clearly he's a rookie, but he was composed. He played within what the defense was giving him, and I'm like, bro, listen, man, this dude's gonna go somewhere. So, but you have to admit though, we disagree on number one, but it is hard to put Kobe above LeBron James. What would you say? Let me ask you this: besides the
No,
cognitive
no,
thing,
no, because I'm saying damn it because I think I gotta switch my number one already.
but
I have
listen, bro,
LeBron number two,
I
but when
don't
you
disagree. Oh, you have LeBron too? Okay.
I got LeBron too, and when you talk about a guy coming into the league and showing the maturity right off the bat, that's almost enough for I'm switching. I got LeBron number one. You son of a bitch.
And not only that, man, let me just add one more thing. The amount of weight and pressure on LeBron James and to still be to have the game go slow and because look, coming into the league, especially once the Lakers got Shaq. I mean, Kobe obviously Shaq was the alpha, so he didn't have as much pressure. You know what I mean? So we got to consider that as well, man. So yeah.
Yeah. No, his maturity, yeah, the expectations. All right, you convinced me. I messed up. It's LeBron, but I'm not dropping Kobe further than two.
Yeah, all right, fair enough. So for two, since you said LeBron's two, and we don't have to go through that because I think you and I agree with that. I have Magic Johnson, and I'll be honest with you, man. I'm not gonna even spend much time talking about my Magic Johnson because it's LeBron 2.0. The only reason why I have LeBron edging Magic Johnson is because I think he saw the game a little bit better than Magic Johnson. And his IQ was not just in his ability to pass, his IQ was in his ability to score and know when to score. I know that I have this guy that's smaller than me. Let me take him to the basket. I know that they're playing some type of a zone coverage. Let me not do that. Let me actually practice on my. So that's part of it. Whereas Magic Johnson, his brilliance was more so in his ability to facilitate. LeBron James is on both sides of the ball. But so that's why I have Magic at two. It's if people have Magic at one, I'm not mad at that. So you want to go to your
I
three because you said you're swapping LeBron and Kobe, right?
Yeah, they're swapped. They're swapped now. I fixed it. You got me in a bummer mood now that I had to swap my list already. I'll get over it. Okay, number three, I got CP3. I got Chris Paul. So you talk about a guy. I mean, he has turned every team around. Every team he's been on five different teams, and all five of those teams have been better with Chris Paul on the floor. And he's an undersized guy. He's six
Yes,
foot tall,
yes,
and so his ability to dominate. I mean, he's not only he's such the coach on the floor on both ends. On offense, he's dictating what is going on. The ball's running through him. Plus, he's got that ability to make the plays himself. He doesn't shy away from those big moments. But on defense, like he's just such like he's 6 foot tall and he's such the alpha on the court, and
hmm
he knows exactly what's going on. I feel like as far as like guys who know the game and are doing that same coaching, it's like him and LeBron. I don't know if there's anybody else that does that type of pretty much player coaching.
yeah. And one person I'll compare Chris Paul to the NFL is Tom Brady. His mere presence demands excellence, man. Like he just the dude. He's not jokey like. But at the same time, he's not necessarily like an a-hole like Kobe to his teammates. And by the way, fun fact about Chris Paul, man. David West, the best years as a professional with Chris Paul. DeAndre Jordan with Chris Paul. Clint Capella with Chris Paul. It's just like I could keep going, man. And Aiden is having a pretty good year as well. So yeah, man, Chris Paul. Yeah, I'm not mad at that. I actually don't have him at three, but the first person that came to mind for me was Chris Paul at three. Believe it or not, but I just yeah, he's not at three, but I think I might have to make a switch. Not Chris Paul at three though, but because I'm looking at my list, he's probably too far down. So for me, three, I have Larry Bird, Larry Legend. Um,
Okay, okay.
I,
You got to explain that one a little bit.
I think Larry Bird, and for me, his IQ is similar in the way I compare him to Luka Doncic. Obviously, he's better than Luka, right? But Luka, in the sense of his craftiness, right? So I'm equating his IQ to his craftiness and his understanding of the game and some of the things that he would do and always finding ways to win. And I mean, I can understand why this would be a controversial pick because he was more of a scorer, more of a pure scorer. And then I think a lot of what we're gonna see on this list are people that are natural facilitators, pass first people. But for me, like in his era, he was one of the highest IQ people in his era, and a lot of this is based on era as well. I'm including that a lot of as well. But the dude was just a smart player. Like the things that he did, like just a very 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 high IQ guy. So very smart shots and all that, getting his team involved and all that. So yeah.
All right, I can appreciate that. I will be talking about Bird, but that's a little higher than I got him.
Okay. I guess I'll do four, and then you could do five. For four, I have Michael Jordan. Um,
What? You just bring me on Kobe. What?
I did, but I'm
You
I'm
talk
mad at.
about
I
Luka
was only mad that Kobe was number
before.
one,
What?
not that he was on your list at all. Oh, okay, I see what you're saying because Kobe's not on my list. Okay, I got you saying. Like for me, man, I think Michael Jordan revolutionized the shooting guard position and how he introduced the post game to the shooting guard position. Prior to him, I don't know who I saw that. So, and a lot of that is leveraging the IQ of knowing footwork and knowing angles. Like a lot of it is angles and footwork, man. That's a lot of it is just pure physics, and I think that takes a lot of IQ to just master that. So, just off the strength of his ability to master, that mid-range fadeaway, and I think his IQ was just so high. And also Michael Jordan, for all the ego and stuff like that, he kind of knew also when to let Pippen run the offense and things of that nature. Well, I need to give the ball to Steve Kerr right here for the open shot and stuff like that. So, but again, it's just I don't like putting pure scores like that high in terms of like IQ, but the dude knew the game a lot, and I think from the standpoint of how do I score, how do I put the basketball in the hoop, that the ability to like the IQ needed to identify that he was second to none. So
I mean, he was born to score. That one surprised. After what you just tell me, OJ, how did he make his teammates better? How did Jordan do that? Jordan pushed his teammates the exact same way Kobe was doing it. And here's the thing: Jordan actually had Roy Williams in college. Tremendous leadership and coach. James Worthy was a teammate of Jordan's in college.
mhm.
So he had some mentorship that I feel like he brushed off as he entered the league and said,
So
I'm going to be the man.
I'll answer your question. How did Kobe Bryant make his teammates better? Not nowhere near to the extent of Magic, CP3, and LeBron. So for me, if I were to have like a list of different things, oh, make teammates better, passing, da, 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 like all the attributes, he would be lower on the making your teammates better. But if I were to have an attribute of IQ of how to score, the understanding of the game offensively, he would be 100 out of 100. So for me, because he's so high on that particular attribute, that's why I'm justifying that. But to answer your question, no, he's not. I mean, other than, oh, by the way, it's Jordan. Let's double team this guy. And by virtue of the double team, Kerr and Paxson, they're open, then yeah. But I don't necessarily think he made his team makes that much better. But he did elevate their game though, as far as that I am Jordan, I'm the best. You're gonna elevate your game. So there is that as well, which obviously Kobe had.
Well, Kobe did that too. And don't forget, Kobe, he crossed Scottie Pippen over and alley-ooped it to Shaq. So he could pass the ball off for a game-winning play
Oh,
too.
that was when Scotty was in Portland, right? I remember watching that game too. That was a nice
I
little
remember
squad,
watching
man. Bonzi Wells,
that.
Bryant Grant, Sabonis. Yeah, man, that was a nice little squad, man. I really enjoyed watching that team, man.
Yep. Yep. All right, all right. I feel like you're being a little contradictory with Jordan that high and Kobe not even in top 10.
When it's the GOAT, you could make certain, uh you could cheat with the GOAT a little bit, I guess.
Playing the Jordan card. All right.
Hmm.
Number four, I've got Steve Nash. Uh, I don't know how deep I've got to get into that. Really, I can highlight. First off, he is a head coach in the NBA, so he definitely, him getting the Brooklyn spot. That's a nod to, his level of knowledge of the game. But beyond that, when he moved from Dallas to Phoenix, his court vision insane. He elevated that team. I think it's hard for me not to say he's not a top three passer of all time. Sean Marion and Amari Stoudemire both enjoyed a very nice run at the tops of their games when Steve Nash was the man leading the show.
Yeah, that's a good pick. And I'll add to that, you when I realized how great Steve Nash was, it was like when I saw like Barbosa and Diao and what's his name, Sean Marion, when I saw those guys not in Phoenix, like that's when I truly realized the impact of Steve Nash, how good he was. To see those guys play outside of him. Stoudemire was another one. He had some decent years with the Knicks, and then he went to China or whatever. But I think we all agree that Steve Nash impacted his career so much. So yeah, I
Yeah,
Steve Nash for sure. I mean,
not
he's
unlike
a
Chris
baby Chris
Paul.
Paul,
Yeah.
essentially.
Yep, that's exactly what I was about to say. Not unlike Chris Paul when you're talking about elevating guys around him, and you talk about David West, DeAndre Jordan. It's just like some guys had their best years when Steve Nash was the teammate.
Yeah, for sure. For me, so that's five. I have Oscar Robertson. Um,
You have number five, Oscar.
mhm. And a lot of it has to do with his ability to facilitate. I think obviously you look at Russell Westbrook, and averaging a triple double 3 straight seasons, but to me that's a little bit of Oscar Robertson without the inefficiency and without sort of the bad IQ. And that's one of the things with Russ, man. The IQ is just very low IQ. So for me, it's sort of that dual threat with Oscar Robinson that Westbrook has, but without the low IQ, without the massive turnover ratio and stuff like that. So, but I'm not gonna
I'll be
lie. Now that I look at this list, he shouldn't be above Chris Paul, bro. I'll tell you, and that's my swap. So Chris Paul's not my number six. So I mean, I'm letting you know right now. Oscar was five, but looking at it now, yeah, Chris Paul should be. Chris Paul 100% should be top five.
and I'll be honest. I'm a historian of the game. I've gone in and I've obsessively looked at the old games. Oscar Robertson, I have a hard time finding footage of full games of his. So to see, I know the numbers. I know the impact that he had on his team winning. Um, I can't speak to him being that type of facilitator just because he was the main option on his team and he was a bigger size guard. He was like 6'5", which was a very large point guard, especially at his era.
Yeah,
So
for sure.
I just want to be honest and be like, for when we're talking Oscar Robertson IQ, feel for the game, I don't know if I'm that familiar with it.
That's fair enough, and that's partly why, like for me, I'm basing this mostly on numbers, which I'm not that comfortable with, man. Because and a lot of these guys, that's why they tend to be more of a modern guys or whatever. But yeah, that's definitely fair.
Yeah,
Who
yeah.
do you have at
Uh,
six?
well, five for me, I've got
Oh,
Draymond.
Draymond Green.
We're gonna make it through this thing alive or not. So
How the hell did I forget Draymond Green? By the way, that
no,
sigh is not because I
you
disagree with you.
transport.
That
No,
sigh is because you idiot. How do you not even have Draymond on your list?
I was about to go into all sorts of explanations to be like, you can't hate this pick.
Oh my gosh,
So,
bro. Draymond.
uh,
Oh,
no,
you don't even have to say anything, man. By the way, before you even go, Draymond Green on this entire list, he's the only person that whose IQ offensively is just as like defensively his IQ is better than anybody on this list. Like he's the only like because most everybody else is off. It's offense.
Yeah. He knows the game like through and through, and he is a leader to where he's gonna push the guys around him to be better. He's gonna elevate them that way, and then but he's just the anchor. I mean, he just knows exactly what's going on at the court. He sees the floor, and that's on both ends, and especially defensively. He's all over the damn. He knows the exact spot to be on the court to guard two guys at once. Like
Yeah.
he's that guy. Like he'll, oh, I need it 4 inches over, and all of a sudden he's disruptive.
He might be the greatest help defender of all time. I know that might sound like hyperbole, man. He might be the greatest help defender. And the thing about Draymond, think about it. Have we ever seen a defense first guys, someone that is known more so for their defense, that was actually a facilitator to a team with all stars? I cannot think of one guy that fits that bill.
You, you know, he actually in majority of seasons, I'd have to go look in details of where it was, but for the last like 7 or 8 out of 9 years, he's actually led the Warriors in assists with around 8.
Oh yeah, I'm not surprised at all by that. That's crazy though. And he's a defender. For all intents and purposes, he's a defender. Like that's how he's built. Like the dude has one defensive player of the year. Like how many defensive player of the year winners do you know that led their team in assists? It's crazy.
Actually, I wonder if that
I
would be. I want to look. I'm gonna write that
I
down
don't
to
I
look
don't
up.
know that that's ever happened because I'll tell you what, 3 out of 4 defensive player. Actually, there's only one I can think of. Gary Payton.
Gary.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yep.
Gary's the only
That would,
one.
yep. But it's and then we're talking about a forward, not a
Yeah,
point guard, not
yeah.
a guard. I wonder if Michael Jordan led his team in assists in '88 also. But you'd be looking at guards who did it, not
Yeah, so it's even more impressive that a power forward did it.
yeah, yeah. That is pretty crazy. I do kind of want to look that one up just for fun. So, okay, number 6, I've got Magic. Little to explain there, as you had him number 2.
Yeah, you gotta walk me through that one.
You know what? It's on the defensive end. So a lot of these guys that I'm talking about so far, they're the defensive anchors. Kobe is going to match up against your best player. LeBron, same thing. Chris Paul, who else I got? Well, then I say that and I got Steve Nash on there. But I mean, Steve Nash and Magic Johnson. Honestly, I'm okay like flexing those guys, but Magic Johnson, as the scorer, typically wasn't his number one option.
Hmm.
Court vision off the charts, but defensively, he wasn't the guy, and he didn't have to be. He played with Defensive Player of the Year award winner Michael Cooper. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was the man in the middle. Byron Scott did his thing on the perimeter. It may not have been his role, but it's probably just uh, the defensive side of things where I never felt like Magic Johnson was the quarterback of the defense,
Gotcha,
which he was indisputably on offense.
gotcha. By the way, I just want to say some. Someone wrote Rondo. Rondo's not on my list, guys. I listen. Those years that Rondo led the league in assists and stuff like that is some of the most overrated years because as far as him as a facilitator, you guys have to understand a lot of those assists were KG at the elbow pull up, Ray Allen at the corner pull up. Rajon Rondo, he's not really a playmaker. He finds people and he gets a lot of assists because people are wide open and he'll kick it out. But he's not the type of player like, and this is where you have to watch basketball to understand that the way that Chris Paul gets the hockey assist, and to me, the hockey assist is just as important as the assist that leads to the basket. Chris Paul knows that if I can get it to this guy, he'll get it to him to score. He's literally a playmaker and he sees everything. Whereas Rondo actually fishes for assists. Like he won't make the pass unless it's the pass that scores. So that's always been my issue with Rondo. Good.
All right, I can appreciate that last part about fishing for him a little bit. However, I mean he drops those dimes. It's not that different from Steve Nash as far as his ability to kick them out in strange angles. But did you know, as you're talking about leading the assists with good teams, he led the league in assists when he was with the Kings. Who the hell was he passing it out to there?
I
So
would venture to say DeMarcus Cousins on lobs, but I don't even remember how long they played together, so I can't comment on that. But if that is, well, I'm not gonna say if that is the case. You know your stuff. That is impressive because I thought the majority of those years was with Boston. So
yeah, yeah, as you're talking about, I can appreciate that. But he also led the league in assists with the Kings.
okay, that's impressive because Kings have. Let's be honest, man. In the past 20 years, they've been the least talented, worst ran organization in my opinion. Well, the Knicks will give them a run for their money, but yeah.
No, the Timberwolves.
Timberwolves, you honestly think the Timberwolves are worse than the Kings?
Timberwolves are the worst franchise in the history of the NBA. They've had 25 seasons of being in the league, 20 probably close to 30 now. Their best years were with Kevin Garnett. They had a league MVP, one of the greatest power forwards in the history of the game, and the best that they ever did was give them Sam Cassell and Latrell Sprewell after their prime.
The trust Sprewell, yeah,
They've
you're
had,
right. I'll give you. You
they've
see,
had
one
Carl
if you
Anthony
put it in that
Towns.
context, if you put it in that context, man, yeah. Because at least with the Kings, they could say they went to the Western Conference Finals. They had a good run. They were respectable for some years with Chris Webber, Bibby, Vladi, and those guys. So,
Yep.
but you, I'm
Timberwolves.
sure you'd agree that the Kings are probably at least bottom five, bottom three. It's like Kings,
I do
Knicks,
agree with
yeah.
you. I
And
do agree
Vladi
with
doesn't
you.
know what he's doing out there, but yeah.
Get Lottie out of there, man. Killing the Kings. So, and then the Knicks, I do like that drop. The Knicks are so terrible because they've got the market. They should not like they could pull in free agencies. They should be doing that every year, and they are so terrible they
Uh,
can't even do
a lot
that.
of it is the ownership, man. Kevin Durant straight up, he didn't even take a visit. He's like, Knicks, I don't care. I'm going to Brooklyn. Like, and a lot of that is like people hate James Dolan so bad that it's like, dude, I'm not gonna even hear you out. Like if you can't even get players to sit down, oh my goodness, and like, what are you doing? Like, you have no hope.
The second James Dolan is out of there, they will have two enormous free agent signings.
Yeah,
I can almost guarantee that. The second James Dolan is gone.
yeah, I can see that. I can see that.
Yeah. So, okay, so I had Magic. I think you got number six to go.
No, I remember I had said that I'm swapping Chris Paul and Oscar. So really, I have Chris Paul at six, but I'll be honest with you, bro, you've convinced me with Oscar. He's if I were to revise this list, I would have Chris Paul at I'm sorry, five, Draymond to completely replace Oscar at five. So yeah, that would be my five. But right now, the way I have it, it was Chris Paul without the amendment.
All right, so who you got seven then?
Seven, I have Jason Kidd. Um, and not much need to be
Ah,
said. What was that?
oh, we agree on one.
Oh, really? You have him at
We
exactly seven
lined
too?
up
Yeah.
on one.
So
Number seven.
yeah, Jason Kidd, man, very, very, very smart player. And one thing as well, man, that I'll give Jason Kidd credit to, Jason Kidd was never a great shooter early on in his career. And I think he completely revitalized his game when he went to Dallas to be a respectable three-point shooter. Listen, Jason Kidd played a pivotal role in those Dallas runs, man. His outside shooting played a great role. So to me, that's IQ. That's recognizing a flaw in your game and then having the wherewithal to change that, to improve that, and to be better. So that's something I always credit him. And not just in terms of offense, defensively too, man. Very good IQ. No, because let's face it, Jason Kidd, he's not the athlete that someone like Russell. It's always amazing how you have players like Chris Paul and Jason Kidd. They're not very athletic, but they're much better defenders than people like John Wall and Russell Westbrook, who are superior athletes. But it just shows you that they have a better understanding of positioning, the game. And I feel like sometimes people that are not athletic, like they know they can't rely on this, so therefore they have to rely on other things. It's almost like sometimes athleticism could be a curse, and that's why Russell doesn't have a jump shot. What he knows he could just get by anyone. So but yeah, Jason Kidd, bro, and I consider Jason Kidd probably the best rebounding guard in NBA history, even over Russell Westbrook. I don't care about those 10 assists he averages or whatever because he fishes for them. But
Well,
yeah,
Jason Kidd's got over 100 career triple doubles to his name too, and that was
Mhm.
that was that was before he wasn't chasing any. It didn't seem like he was chasing stats. That's just how he was. So I appreciate you recognizing Jason Kidd as the great rebounder he was. Just a complete all around player.
Oh
And
yeah,
I think
he's
just
my best rebounder. Point guard, yeah, I have number one. Yeah.
yeah. So just for the people chiming in, I got two things to add on Jason Kidd. Is one, we all know Allen Iverson. And when we're talking about Allen Iverson's legacy, his run to the finals with the 76ers, which is overrated by the way, but I don't want to get into that right now. His run to the finals as the 76ers is almost what Allen Iverson's legacy is built on. Jason Kidd took the New Jersey Nets, a much worse team than the 76ers, to back-to-back finals. He came from Phoenix to New Jersey. New Jersey was something like a 25-win team. Jason Kidd shows up, literally turned into title contenders. So just completely elevated that franchise. That New Jersey Nets team did not have one single player, including Jason Kidd himself, average more than 15 points. Nobody on
That's
the Nets
crazy.
team averaged more than 15 points. But Jason Kidd was so good at what he did,
Wow.
elevating the guy. Him,
Now
he
that
took
is a
them to the
stat right there, my friend. That stat, it screams of, guess what? Everybody is getting involved. Because if we're winning games and not one person scoring over 15 points, that means, oh, this guy's getting 10, he's getting 12, he's getting 8, he's getting 14. You know, multiple guys in double figures. And that only happens by getting people involved.
And those guys were Kenyon Martin. That was arguably his best guy. Kerry Kittles.
Rookie.
Richard Jefferson, rookie.
Yeah.
So Vince Carter was not on the team yet, you guys. I know a lot of people mess up that time era. Vince Carter was not on
Who was
the
their
team that went to the
Kmart was their power forward. Who was their center?
Todd McCullough.
Okay.
You know who the Sixers had? Dikembe Mutombo, who was the defensive player of the year. They also had
And McKee, Kukoc.
Kukoc, an experience. Yeah, and that's the 76ers team was full of veterans. The New Jersey Nets team had like
Bunch of
Lucius
newbies.
Harris and rookie Richard Jefferson. So I love that. I had to highlight that about Jason Kidd because Allen Iverson is beloved. Jason Kidd did what Allen Iverson did times 3 because he did it with the worst team and he did it twice. Allen Iverson took him once, Kidd
Yeah.
took him twice. Now, the other part I'd like to add on about Jason Kidd is the development of the jump shot that you talked about. And I only want to hit on that to highlight Ben Simmons. I have a lot of belief in Ben Simmons being able to develop a jumper. Decent. I'm not saying he's going to be a great shooter. But one thing people comment as there's very few guys that have developed the jumper. Well, Jason Kidd is one of them. Lonzo Ball is actually one of them. Oh, damn. And there's always one more guy that I drop on that. But the thing about people have to recognize about that, there are very few point guards that come into the league not able to shoot. That's a short list in itself. Like, so no, it's not going to be a long list of guys who develop their jump shot because there's not very many guys who needed to.
Yeah.
So
Especially as point guards, for sure. Yeah.
yeah. So I like it. We matched up on one. So I got Larry Bird.
I'll be honest with you. I don't like my number 8. I have Bill Russell. I think really for one main reason. Obviously, the dude's not facilitating none of that. So defensively, I think he's up there, man. Like one of the great defenders, and a lot of people have him as the greatest defender of all time. So just all of that. But I just think this dude knew how to win. He had a limited skill set, but he had the IQ to know how to win and get the best out of people around him, man. And I think that should count for something. And part of the reason I have Bill Russell up there is sort of to have a representative for that era, for his era as well.
I like it. And you got to talk about his leadership. If we're talking about IQ, the dude knew how to play with the guys around him. And he allowed guys like Havlicek to do what they needed to do. And then also, he was the head coach. He was a player coach.
Yeah.
So I so you may not like your pick. I like your pick.
Oh, thanks.
I thought about Russell. I thought about it.
Yeah, I
So
guess I guess now that I'm talking out loud, then I guess I don't mind so much. But I guess it's really when I look at 9 and 10, not sure he should be above them. So, but
yeah.
we'll see.
And if there was going to be a spot he's short on, it's facilitating, it's
Yeah,
playmaking.
for
But
sure.
I'm pretty sure he did actually average more than 4 assists per game.
For his
Like it
career,
wasn't.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think
So
naturally when we think of IQ, it's so easy to go to offense, right, and facilitating, but you got to give credit to defense as well. That's why when you said Draymond Green, I'm just kind of like, oh my goodness, shaking my head. I'm like, how could I forget Draymond? You know what I'm saying? Like, don't get me
yeah,
wrong, Ben Wallace was one of the greatest defenders. He's in my top three. Gary Payton might be my greatest defender of all time, but those guys did not have the IQ that Draymond Green had. They did not. So yeah, man. For 9, I have Steve Nash. Again, that's why I was like, man, Bill Russell. I'm like, Steve Nash should probably go over. I might have Steve Nash for obvious reasons. Yeah.
yep. We covered him a little bit. My 9 is John Stockton. So
Mm.
I mean, he played his role perfectly. He did his job, executed it every single night. As far as just a straight passer and playmaker, you know. And it wasn't just not he ran the pick and roll perfectly with Karl Malone, but people also forget in the fast paced game, he had full court passes regularly. He saw the whole court from the other team's free throw line regularly. And then on defense, don't underestimate that. And dude,
Isn't
you
he the
know
all-time
me.
steals leader?
He's the all-time steals leader and all-time assist leader. And you know me, I do not like myself some John Stockton. Like
That's true. I was just gonna say that. I was surprised you had him up there. I thought about him too. He's actually not on my list. I thought about him as well too.
yeah, he's one of those guys I consider completely overrated. But as far as his feel for the game, you know, his IQ, what he did, how he executed, and he did it on both ends of the court. I got him number 9.
I will say this on your list, you have two people on your list who are actually not the best players on their team. He's one of them. The other one is understandable, Draymond, but he's the other one. All the other ones on your list, clearly they're the best player on the team. So I just think that's a little interesting. That not to take anything away from him, but yeah.
But you say it like that. There's no way I would ever have Karl Malone over John
But
Stockton
yeah,
if
yeah,
we're
for
talking
sure, for
IQ.
sure. Yeah, yeah. And then lastly for 10, I have Gary Payton. Um, obviously he doesn't have the playmaking prowess as some of the point guards we've noted, but defensively, very crafty, very savvy guy. You know what I mean? So and he was decent as well, as far as being a playmaker and they had a very good pick and roll situation going on with Sean Kemp in his own right. Obviously, it's nowhere near Stockton and Malone in terms of finesse and aesthetically how it was, but so that's why I have him, but mostly a lot for his defense as well. Yeah.
And you know what I will add to Gary Payton? Because I've honorable mention. I've got my list of guys on the side that didn't make the cut. Gary Payton's actually one of them. His the control of himself. We want to talk about trash talking and playing with that intensity. There's very few guys. Draymond's kind of one of them too, who can play at that level of intensity and talk to somebody and be in their face and not get sucked into it themselves. Like he's in
Draymond,
complete
KG, Gary, those three.
they're in complete control of those intense emotional situations. So as far like it's almost like an emotional intelligence that Gary Payton also
Hmm.
brings to the table.
For sure. Yeah, and he's always in control. Yeah. For my honorable
So
mentions, I have
oh wait,
Hakeem.
I got my 10.
What was
I
that?
got to give my 10.
Oh,
I
so
got to
my
give my
fault. My
10.
fault. Go ahead.
Yeah. So I'm pulling a shotgun on myself because I want my number 10 to be more interesting than what I had. So I'm gonna say Andre Miller. You talk about feel for the game.
I have not
On
heard that name in such a long time.
Crafty, bro. Crafty. And you know what? I was in the arena when he scored 52 points with the Blazers uniform on. It was insane to watch. He picked the team up, and he's not on the list solely because he had that game,
Hmm.
but just crafty. He was not more athletic than anybody,
No, he was
but
actually below average in terms of athleticism, if we're being honest. Yeah.
very much so. Very much so. But he knew how to get himself to the right spot, and as a playmaker, an assist man, one of the best. He's actually led the league in assists himself, and I
Really? I
wish I
did
would have
not know
checked.
that.
Yeah, he did that, and I wish I would have checked where he is on the all-time assist, but I'm almost more than certain he's top 10 on the all-time assist chart. But his craftiness,
Very crafty.
the level of that, I,
And he
so
and he
I
plays
went with
with pace, man. He plays with so much pace, and he's doing his own thing. He doesn't care what you're doing. So that's a great one, man. That's like one of those gold nugget ones. I did that came out of nowhere, and it's been such a. By the way, did he play for Portland before or after Denver?
after.
After, okay.
Yeah, yeah, but he was I think teammates with LeBron for one season, which you just man, if he would have stayed as LeBron's point guard, the Cavs could have been okay.
Hmm.
If they could have kept Carlos Boozer at power forward, the Cavs could have been okay. Like they had some pieces early
Oh yeah.
that they let it
That's
go.
man, you're giving me nostalgia right now, man. Carlos Boozer, man. I love those that Jazz squad. Him, Darren Williams, Andre Kirilenko, Mehmet Okur. That was a nice little squad, man. Whew, for you young bucks out there, that's not old enough. That was a I love their one of the best half court offense teams. I love watching them. I'm missing someone, Carver. Matter of fact, they had Paul Millsap too. I'm pretty sure Paul Millsap came off the bench.
They were all so young. They never came together though. They never took
They
that
never came
step. They had
together, and when they did, Shaq and Kobe, and then KD and Westbrook and OKC came in the fold. It was
yeah.
too much. Yeah.
Yep. So I on my shotgun I pulled in Andre Miller. So on my first honorable mention I'll pull is Tim Duncan. And I think honestly for
Ooh.
not
Mm.
dissimilar than Bill Russell. You know, just this the he just knew how to win. The consummate teammate. I think he made a lot of sacrifices both statistically and financially to put his team in position to win.
Right. I mean, when you're a guy and your nickname is Big Fundamental, that nickname alone should get you in, at least honorable mention for IQ. And his use of the glass, revolutionary, man. Great. And again, not the sexiest game. His personality is more on the, whatever side, but dude got the job done. He got the job done.
He sure
So,
did.
who else did you have in your honorable mentions?
So guys that
You
I
said
had Bill
Gary Payton.
Russell.
Okay, yeah.
Bill Russell and Gary Payton were guys that you mentioned. I actually was in high consideration of Rondo, so he was also an honorable mention. And then the two guys that have yet to be mentioned, Chauncey Billups and Bob Cousy.
Chauncey Billups. Big Shot Billups. I love Chauncey. That's a great pick. That's a great pick.
Yep. Yep. So those were the guys that get shout outs. What about you? You got any
So
guys
for
outside
me,
looking in?
yeah, I have Stockton. I have Hakeem. I think Hakeem, if you're talking about footwork, not a lot of guys, centers, whose footwork were as good as him, and his understanding of the game was beautiful. Isaiah Thomas, Pete, Pistons Isaiah Thomas. And again, for similar, you got to think Isaiah Thomas's best player was what, Joe Dumars. Like he didn't have a lot of guys that were scoring crazy, but he just knew how to get guys involved, man. And he made guys. He definitely elevated guys. And now that I'm looking at it, man, he probably should be in my top 10. And then my
I
surprise. So
like.
you know how you have your Andre Miller. My Andre Miller, believe it or not, Shane Battier. He's in my honorable mention, man. Shane Battier, man, and mostly his defensive IQ. I It was crazy, man. like one of the best defensive IQ players I've ever seen. Again, he's long, but he's not a guy that's crazy athletic or anything like that. You know what I mean? So when I think of
Yeah.
IQ in terms of like defenders, people like him, PJ Tucker, Bruce Bowen, Paige Esther, those guys come to Doug Christie for the Kings. Those are the guys that come to mind. But for me, Shane Battier, man, like he would like little things he'd do when he'd guard people. He'd put his hands in their face, like all these, like just attention to detail. So, yeah,
That is a great name drop. That was a great close right there. I like that a lot.
yeah,
So,
man.
um, all right. Hey, we've been going at this for about an hour 20, so I want to wrap this up by talking to you about one more thing here. So,
By the way,
well,
next week, top 10 greatest ball handlers of all time,
I'm
or,
writing it down right now.
or whenever you get to it. It doesn't have to be next week, but that'll be the next one.
Well, okay. So
That's gonna
OJ,
be
I'm
fun.
trying. I'm trying myself. I feel like I've been doing TikTok for almost a year, and this is literally my only outlet on basketball. I love it, the interaction with people, the conversations, and on you alone, one of the best things that's come about it, the being able to talk with somebody and connect with somebody,
Appreciate
freaking
that.
awesome. So, first off, do you do anything else besides TikTok?
I do IG, but I'm not really big on IG. Honestly, it's basically what I do is I take my TikTok videos and I basically resize it for IG, and then I upload it there. Right now, I'm kind of in the process of starting a podcast with a guy. His name is Jason. He has a TikTok. He's not big on TikTok though. He's more like he has it just to kind of like look at other people's stuff and stuff. Actually, fun story. I actually met him for the first time yesterday. We had dinner together. He lives in Atlanta, so that's in the works. So that's where I'm at with that. But the podcast YouTube thing, that stuff right there is just very, as far as to get it up and running, because we've been at it for a while. It's just very time consuming. It's not an easy process, man.
Well, and I don't know anything about that stuff, and I don't know if you saw my post, but I actually was like, "Hey, I I've got a full-time job. I've got the newborn baby. I'm not gonna fool myself and think that I'm getting those things going." So I've actually been reaching out to some people and be like, I want to kind of branch out a little bit more. And so like I've been reaching out to people who have podcasts, like Player's Choice is one I saw recently. Light and Hunch, if you know those guys.
No, I
But
don't
just
think I'm
like getting
familiar with those.
they're just like small doing whatevers. Um, but I did. It's almost such bad timing. I wanted if I was gonna connect and do something like that with somebody, I want to plant that seed with you. I would do a podcast with you. If you're committed with this guy and ain't a thing, all good, dude. All good. And I know nothing about that stuff. I
Hmm.
only do TikTok. So podcast, I'm like, what the hell? People have asked me to do podcast and YouTube. I'm like, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what that
You don't know
is.
where to
Like I know
begin.
what. Yeah, I don't know any of that stuff. I don't even know where to start with it, and
Yeah,
it's
well,
not too big.
here's what I say. So a couple of things. Yes, I am committed to him. We've been in the works for a while, and so I have to hash down exactly sort of his vision for it because I don't know if it'll be fully a like a sports show. We might get into because I'm actually a political science major, so is he. So we might get into like sports and politics as well. But I will say at the very least, we'll definitely have a show to where it's like a basketball segment or something. So it could be definitely be a thing or you could come on as like a weekly guest or something like that. I'm definitely down for that. So
And I'm down for that too. So I appreciate that. That's
yeah,
really cool.
absolutely.
So you let me know, and if I ever get my hands on it, you'll be one of the first that I talk to about. But I really don't see myself having the time. That's why I'm trying to
Yeah,
connect with
man.
other people.
It's a lot easier, man, to have something already established and then to just jump on whether you're doing it. But as far as to get it from the ground up, man, that and I know how to do it and stuff. But it's a lot of work, man. Like
That's what
it's
it seems
just
like. I feel like I put in a lot of work, and for I mean, shoot, I'm only at 16K followers on TikTok. I'm really proud of myself, but I'm like, it could. Who knows how long it'll take me to get people into a podcast. So that's all I wanted to say about that. I hope you get that going, and you let me know.
I
I'd pop on
definitely will,
anytime with
man.
you.
I'll definitely keep you in the loop. So next week ball handlers. But remember, just as a caveat, strictly their ability to handle the ball. And we're not necessarily going to think about what they do with the ball in terms of finishing. So that's not going to be included. Just like handle it. Yeah, pretty much just handles. Not even really passing, because that's not handles, just handling. So that, I'll be honest with you, that's going to be fun as heck. And I'm going to throw some names out there that, especially some of these young guys, are going to like, oh, who the heck is that? So Rafer Alston.
Oh my God, bro! I'm writing Rafer Alston's name right now. It's literally, I was like, I'm gonna get him with Rafer Alston.
Oh,
That's too damn fun.
that's just, I don't know. Maybe he may not make my list. Honestly, man, when I start thinking, I mean, Steve Francis, Marbury. There's a lot of guys, man. Like, there's a lot of guys. But I'm not gonna say. I'm gonna throw in some gems in there, man, for you. But yeah,
So can you and I? Would you be? Can we make top 10 Tuesday a thing?
yeah, that's fine. Yeah, Tuesday would work for me. Top 10 Tuesday, and Tuesday starts with a T, and we could make it. Shoot, 7:30 would be best for me. I don't know what that time is for you, but
4:30 for me. Yeah, I because if we could lock in something consistent, my schedule is just such a pain in the butt. But I really wanted to do something consistent as I'm trying to kind of get myself more straight. Top 10 Tuesday
top
with
10
OJ
Tuesday.
Knows.
Yep. And you know what I'm gonna start doing, man, to market it and stuff? I'm actually gonna do this tonight. I'm gonna take some clips of our live and to actually post it as videos as well. Cause I know people do that. I forgot I could actually do that. Just download it to my phone and crop the areas I want. So yeah.
Well, here we can do the marketing segment right here.
Top
You
10
can cut.
Tuesday brought to you by OJ Knows and Basketball for Brains. Catch you next Tuesday, 7:30 Eastern. Nah, it's not that cheesy. Let's see, I got 8 people on there. No, I'll definitely make a video of it as well. So
No, that sounds awesome, man. If we can get regular with that. So, because these lists are fun. That IQ list was the bomb. That was
yeah,
fun.
that challenged me, to be completely honest with you. Like the handle stuff, that's not the handle is gonna be just pure fun. This actually challenged me. I had to think about it. Like, ironically enough, it's a IQ list. But yeah. So yeah.
Yo. All right, muchacho.
All right, good seeing you, man. Have a good rest of your night.
You too, man. Catch you next time.
All right, later. Dark skin OJ. Light skin OJ. Dark skin OJ. Light skin OJ. Dark skin OJ. All right, guys. Oh man, what's good, man. I gotta go. Gotta go right now. Gotta go right now. Nah, Raja Bell, nah.